Markham Street recommendations?
I don't have any I know if they, I don't know if they can fix it like those curbs whenever you're going through them, just how rough they are. If they ever do that again, I don't like how you re-enter the traffic like you're over here and then you re-enter.
Right, the bike track goes
Yeah,
back
you
in.
come back out at the end, you know, so I think that's problematic.
Do they have paint on that, the way they do on Donaghy?
Yeah, those are painted, if I remember, yeah.
The crossings?
The crossings are painted.
There's no bike. I don't think there's green paint at the moment.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah.
At Markham, at
I think they're
Mill,
yellow.
across
Aren't
the
they
Markham.
yellow?
There's red. It's
Oh.
red for the pedestrian, like where the sidewalk continues, but there's no green paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they should do it like Donaghy, that would be a help. Can they? Could they?
Yeah. Yeah, they can change that. I don't know why they didn't do it the same and just keep it
Right.
uniform, but like I think, you know, the way it is, but I also tried to ride it through the lens of a family and not my own cycling. And whenever I do that, that's kind of something I wanted to talk about is whenever you think of it through that lens and say it does at a much slower speed, it is safer than how they would probably feel out on the road. So, but I would like to see them have a more consistent design instead of coming over and coming out, you know, so.
I think the recommendations that were in that paper that we passed along were mainly for traffic calming on anybody turning off of Markham. So it was the like center divider on the cross streets, and that may have been all there was. Just
and I think then we talked about an elevated crossing or something further up.
these were, yeah, I mean, I think what we put in those recommendations was stuff that would be easy.
Yeah.
Like I know Kurt went and installed a few of those what are they called? The breakaway
Uprights?
flex posts. Yeah, flex posts.
Yeah.
I mean, those are like a 5-10 minute install.
Yeah.
And just something like that on either like in the middle of the road, like on the lane divider at those crossings.
Yeah.
Just
To
something.
make them so they don't cut the corner.
Yeah. So if you stand out there on one of those corners, you'll see cars, you know, going like 25, 30, and they'll just try to hold as much speed going through there. And that's when you're going to run into problems with people, you know, riding through there and not expecting a car. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the only recommendation. There might have been one other thing, maybe some paint.
We didn't broach that the other day, did we? I don't have it in my notes. I didn't remember that.
No, this has been from a while
It's
ago.
been a while back. Yeah.
Right.
I'll ask him about the paint.
Were we all at the October special meeting?
I was not.
Oh, you were not?
I was in Maryland.
That's right. Terry, you want to give us, what were your thoughts on the meeting, Terry?
I thought it was well received. It wasn't so much that it accomplished a ton of stuff other than I wanted everyone to feel like they were heard, and I think we accomplished that. Chief Tapley was there, which was good. Originally, he wasn't going to be there, and I got with Bart and got him there, made sure he was there. So, and then that ended up being good. It wouldn't have gone as well if Chief Tapley wasn't there. Whenever he said he wasn't going to be there, that was especially with kind of trying to show. I just feel like, especially with CPD, changes have to be from the top down. Over there, the officers aren't going to focus on cycling if the chief isn't going to focus on cycling. So,
And Josh was there. That was nice.
yeah, Josh was there. Overall, I thought it was good. I mean, there is.
What's that woman who runs animal control? She didn't make it. Sharon?
She did not make it.
Shauna.
Yeah, she had some family issues. She takes care of her dad, and that something happened, and she couldn't make it. So that was kind of a fail, but it still went well despite her not being there. Is there anything else you guys would like to have seen from that first meeting?
I don't think so. I think from the people I talked to, they appreciated it. It went well. I thought it went well.
Yeah.
I guess just dealing with the county is the thing. You know, should we have another meeting with the county and get the sheriff or Billy Kelly? Is that his name? Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
That guy who I had a lot of emails with, but I've never met.
Yeah.
Have you ever met him or?
I've never met him. I've talked to him on the phone.
Okay.
So I think he'd be fine coming to a meeting. Like if we try to do another one down the road, maybe in springtime when riding's starting to ramp back up.
Right. People start seeing dogs out in the county. That's where we get more of the dogs out in the county.
Yeah. So there's some takeaways from that I'm working on. I've met with the chamber about, and I saw your ad that you did with the chamber about the Idaho stop or the Arkansas stop. That was
that
good.
was a replay from last year.
Yeah, so we're just working on some of that stuff. The chamber's considering footing a bill to have, somebody come in and create the content. So
Pretty good.
So that's in the kind of laying the groundwork for that. But there's also a lot of canned stuff out there that we can repurpose, I think. And then I've been in discussion with Kurt on Hogan, trying to change up the bikes may share the road signs, trying to see what we can do to change that up to something like, feedback on this. Like if we put up a sign, if we can get it approved, we're expect bikes in lane or something. Instead of saying they may share the road, like expect them
Well,
to
that's
be.
not quite what it says. It says bikes may use full lane.
Yeah,
Right?
I know, but that's what my question to Kurt was, do we have any latitude to change that? Because whenever you say bikes may use a full lane, doesn't really give us,
Well, they should
in
expect.
the motorist's eyes, if you look at it through the motorist, they're not expecting us to be there, I think. So I want something that's like expect to see cyclists in the lane, where that lane is specifically where you ride and you pass, you pass Prince or whatever, and then it narrows up, or is it,
It's college.
college, you pass college,
college.
and then you go around the turn and then it narrows up
Right.
as you approach Reedy.
Right.
To where
You
it's,
have to get in the lane.
yeah, and you end up out in the lane.
Mhm.
And so they don't, the point that we have is like we're we're in a bike lane and all of a sudden we're in the
Yeah.
road, and they don't understand why because
Still.
further back, they remember seeing a bike lane.
Right, and it just shrinks.
Yeah. So
How did it work the other night? You were controlling some traffic back there, right?
I didn't do anything back there. It was the group. I mean, I was,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, I know. So you were the last one, but we were two abreast.
Yep.
And so there were cars back there waiting until they could get around. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, there was a
I didn't
couple,
look back.
one or two, might have been two, three. So not super heavy traffic, but
Right.
I guess my thoughts on this are, I think it's really just changing the minds of people. I mean,
I agree.
we know of cyclists, so I don't know. I know there's a lot of talk about driver education, but I think a lot of cyclists know that they can take the lane, but I think we're still hesitant to do so. And I think most of that is concerns for coming across as, we
got to find a balance though, because I'll tell you a story of coming back from a ride and I think somebody flatted, so I helped them, and Nick and Jesse go up the road. And as I'm coming down Tyler, I'm just like, the cars are just backed up like a quarter mile long. And so I'm just passing cars down the right side because they're doing like 15 miles an hour. And I get to the front.
What's going on?
Nick and Jesse are riding shoulder to shoulder, like with their hands on each other, like this, riding down Tyler with traffic backed up a quarter mile. So I had a conversation with them, like, you want more respect, you have to give motorists some respect. Like, just because we can take the lane doesn't mean we
Always have to. You don't always have to.
like
right?
that wasn't appropriate. They could have turned. They went all the way to Donaghy on Tyler. Like, they could have turned on. I'm trying to think of the street there. You could turn and go down and hit here. It's like zigzag over and get out of the car's way. Just trying to get them in the mindset too that we're trying to bring the public along with us in this as we get more cyclists, and that's not the right way to do it either. So
I think obviously in that situation, that's a little silly. But I think for the most part, any time that our group rides out there, it doesn't make sense for us to hug the very edge of the road and run over glass and, just hope that cars don't decide to pass right at that key moment in that turn where they're going to have to either hit another car.
I definitely have no problem like taking the lane, but my definition of taking the lane is right tire track to the middle of the lane. I don't necessarily think going all the way to the yellow line is a good idea, because motorists are unfortunately still going to try to pass you, and now you're making them pass you within closer than 3 feet whenever they do.
If you're 3 feet away from the yellow line, they should be going, when the road is that narrow, they should be passing you in the opposite or in the opposing lane anyway. So anything I'd say is fair game within 3 feet of the line and over. But anyway, I think we're getting off.
Yeah.
So my point was, we can put up signs, but is that going to change, behavior from our side? Is that going to convince people that, yes, we really should value our safety?
I think if you're riding down that road and then you see the signs, I think it gives a cyclist more confidence to get in the lane.
Can we impose that confidence without the signs? Because it's not just Hogan. There's other streets, if they're less than 14. We want cyclists to be educated and know that, if they're choosing between safety and convenience for someone in a car,
I think the reason I'm picking on that road is because there's a cycling lane and it disappears with no announcement.
Is it technically a bike lane?
It starts as one.
It starts as one up by, it is a legitimate bike lane closer up, and then with no,
I guess what
normally you see a sign that says bike lane ends, but it never has any indication of
It
that.
just gets down to like this.
1 foot wide. Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
With gravel and
then you've got a little ways, and then the shoulder opens up some more after the bridge. And,
I think from lots of cyclists' perspective, especially newer ones, they don't understand that it's safer for them to move out into
Yes,
the lane
in the lane.
there than trying to hug along the shoulder.
Mhm.
They're afraid they're going to get run over by cars from behind, which is least likely to happen. But insane drivers have been known to do it, but generally not. I agree with you. That's what I think we have to teach in our smart cycling classes,
Speaking of
Eric's
which-
classes, whenever we can. What's that?
October what? What was your?
October 29th, right. I mean, anybody's interested in taking it. I think I've only got a couple people right now, but I had some more interest from a group the other day, so I don't know.
Can you take it more than once? Can I do cycling 201? What is it? Cycling 201.
No, what we need you to do is to find yourself a seminar where you can become a league certified instructor.
All right, we're getting away from our.
Yeah, right. Well, you brought it up. I
I'd be
mean,
happy to. It's
If
a little
anybody
pricey,
wants
though.
to take the class, it's on the 29th.
It's kind of pricey. It's my only issue.
What? How much is it?
It's like $500.
Oh, for that, for your seminar,
Yeah, the
right.
league cycling. Yeah.
For mine, it's free.
So my only feedback on that meeting, I think the communication is good. I was happy to see the city have people out there and communicating. There were a couple comments, between Mr. Finkenbinder and Chief Tapley, which I think, to not to say anything bad, but I think it's a fair reflection on some idea or some people's feelings on cycling. There was a couple key comments in there that I thought were interesting.
I know Charles, Charles' comment was about not always hitting the button or whatever. What was it?
I don't remember.
He's more of a walker than.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
He
Something
wants to
coming. He was
accommodate. He was the one that was thought on Hogan that we should just go single file on the side, although Josh had already advised us to those kind of circumstances just to take the lane. That's what he had told us before, right?
So it depends on if the
confusion.
person that you're talking to
Right,
knows what the league's recommendations are and
There's
if
no-
they're a cyclist.
There's no law there, but
What was Chief Tapley's comment that got your attention? Trying to.
It's escaping me at the moment. I may have
to that
to.
question, I was the one that asked about Hogan. He looked at me and said, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Yeah, he had no
So,
idea about that
Tapley,
question.
yeah.
He had no
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
about that question.
I'd like to see kind of a unified message coming
Yeah.
from the entire city and get a little bit more. I guess.
Well,
pro
what
cyclist
I've had
support.
some discussion with him about being able to kind of break the. Not that I'm saying break into the police department, but be able to get in there and get in front of them and talk about cycling in Conway.
You could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and just be able to if it's in just a training session or whatever, and talk about cycling and I've talked to Josh about trying to get buy-in too whenever they're doing. So they're short officers and they're pretty much hiring whoever. Like people are leaving Little Rock to come here and they're to make less money.
Because they like it here.
I guess
That's
maybe
dangerous.
they're not they're not
Oh,
getting
yeah.
shot at as
Yeah.
much maybe.
Right,
So
that's dangerous, right.
but with that, nobody cycles in North Little Rock unless they're on the river trail, and so
Right.
this is a new environment to them. So what Josh and I are talking about is trying to get part of their training. New officers have to go on the bike patrol for a week or something.
They have a bike patrol?
Do they say?
They do.
Where is it patrol? Just on the river?
Well,
on the
it's
trail?
whenever it gets cold, they don't do it, but
Right.
they usually. I've seen them riding.
I think the ride facilitated
Yeah.
the
I
bike.
thought they weren't doing it anymore, but that's what I had most recently.
Josh said they were still
Okay.
doing it, but I
They
don't
were
think
doing it,
they.
they were just doing it on the trail, I thought. They do it other
That's the
places?
only place I've ever seen them
Right.
is on the trail. So
So it'd be nice if they did some downtown, or
Yeah.
they could do some areas where it's kind of, dense, where,
It'd be perfect downtown.
mhm.
when we get all these trails and stuff, they're gonna need
Yeah.
to have more of it.
Right, they should be on some of that. Well, that's good. I think that's a good strategy, Terry, to try to get yourself into some of the, meetings. There must be an awful lot of meetings they must have. Seems like they could have you there once.
Yeah, because cycling's not going to decrease; it's going to increase.
Right. When we
Well,
get this-
and that's what, my experience since we're off the record here is I've been one of those people that have laid on the side of the road bleeding whenever the police officers apologizing to the motorists for me being on the road.
Oh wow!
So,
Yeah.
so that, it's not a very good feeling. So, and I would like to say that we've gotten a lot better. But what you guys don't know, what happened the day before that, like the day before our special meeting, I'm driving down Tyler and I'm following a red Camaro, and one of the NICA kids, so I knew the kid, he's crossing from Tucker across Tyler to head westbound on Tyler, and plenty of room, probably 150 feet. And this guy in the red Camaro, when he sees a kid crossing the road on a bicycle, floors it,
Oh man!
misses him by this much.
Mhm.
And I could see the terror in the kid's face. And so I stayed back because I thought he was going to hit him. And then I had to catch up to the guy on Tyler, I had to do 70 on Tyler to get up to him and get his tag number.
Nuts.
And then he hits the red light at Tyler. And so I pull up next to him and I kind of look in the car and I was like, he looked non-threatening, so I was like, hey, and he thought I was going to be like, hey, cool car.
Right.
He rolled the window down. I was like, hey, about trying to run the kid over back there. Like, what was the deal with trying to hit the kid on the bike? We shouldn't have been crossing the road. I was like, are you serious? He's like, you got a problem with me? I was like, I have a big problem with you trying to kill a kid intentionally. So anyhow, I called the police. I called the parents of the kid because I knew him because he was a NICA kid. And just as I'm calling them to make sure he's okay, he walks in the door, Mom, some guy tried to kill me.
Mhm.
So they file a police report. The officer shows up and won't even take the report.
Really?
And so that was, our meeting was on Thursday. So that was Tuesday night. I spent most of the day Wednesday on the phone with Bart and the chief of police about that. Just like, this is,
What was the
Gotta
reason?
change.
What was the reason?
I was like,
for not taking
how
the
can it not? Well, the officer told the lady, the parents of the kid, I don't know who this Terry guy is. It seems like he has an agenda. Because the way I looked at it
Yeah,
was,
people
you
did
filed
say-
the report, because there's no camera, right? We talked about the whole cameras. I told the mom, I was like, you guys file the report. I'm the witness. Not only am I the witness, I'm the bike and pedestrian coordinator. So then this officer was just not having any part of it. And he refused to even take the report. So whenever I got the chief involved, then the chief took the report personally. And then it came down to the parents, the police department. They're like, we will go pick this guy up. This is basically assault. And we'll go pick the guy up, but you have to be willing to press charges through the city attorney's office. And they weren't. They just let it go.
Mm.
If they were willing to press charges, that guy would have spent the night in jail.
You might have thought twice then.
Well, after this, maybe he will think twice.
Let's hope so. I don't know.
Supposedly, they still went and talked to him and his dad. He looked like he may have been a college age, but I guess he was high school or
Mhm.
something. And so they talked to the family. But anyhow,
It happens. Yep.
So,
the
Hopefully not a
maliciousness
lot.
of it is what bothered me. Like, accidents happen, but that was just, that's the stuff we're trying to,
That's a high school, college kid. I hope.
yeah,
Hope
that's
it's
the
not an
stuff we're trying
adult.
to stop and has to stop.
It's a mindset. It's not an age,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, that is
Right.
a mindset. High school was a mindset.
Yeah. Well, some people
Still
don't.
is.
Some people
Still
are
there.
stuck
Some
there.
people don't
Right.
progress.
Right. Well, that was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he was probably in his early 20s. And
Right,
she's
right.
like, well, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you shouldn't have confronted him. I said, well, I get that. But at the same time, I can ID the guy. Like, if he walked in that parking lot right now, I could ID the guy, and I got basically a verbal statement that he did it intentionally. Like,
Right.
I mean,
He didn't accidentally floor it.
yeah, it wasn't like his foot slipped, or he had a stroke temporarily or.
Wow.
So-
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So that's how Chief was made to be at the meeting.
yeah. I'm glad he
That
was
would have
there.
been a major problem if neither he or Charles had showed up.
Yeah.
I mean, you organized a meeting and no city officials show up. That would have
Yeah.
been a major statement right there.
Yeah. Well, and like Chief wasn't coming, and then that happened, and with like one of the messages I gave the Chief, I was like, we had a golden opportunity to show that we care about the cycling community and people's lives if we handled this right. And this officer goes out and even refuses to take the report. I said, I didn't even know you could do that.
Mhm.
Well, more than that, these are kids. Some of these kids go to school with their bikes.
Right.
Some of these college kids go to UCA or college on their bikes. That's their mode of transportation. So what arrogance to think that they don't have rights to be on the road. I mean, I can understand if us that are out there,
Yeah.
but we're just a fraction of that. We're just a part of that. There are people that actually use it for transportation. There are 2 people in my neighborhood that is their transportation. You'll see them out there, for years. And doesn't matter what the weather is. They dress for it, and that's their transportation.
I think the bigger point is, that kid, if we want people to choose to ride bikes and something like that happens to them, it's not that night. Like you get over stuff like that the next day until it's something that's that malicious. And then you're like, you always are going to think twice about riding your bike outside after that. And it's just going to become a thing where you're like, yeah, I don't feel safe doing that. And you're going to start.
Mhm.
My son rides his bike to school, and I've like ridden there with him, and like even just talking to the school. So they wanted, I like told my son, okay, you ride behind the school and then come in around the front or whatever, because there's 300
Right.
cars driving in and everybody's looking on their phones, and the principal contacted me and said he wanted him to come through the front of the school, and I was like, absolutely not. I said, I've ridden through the back of the school and there's no traffic. Well, the buses come in there. I said, but when he gets there, there's no buses. Like, we have this timed. When he gets there, there's no buses. I've instructed him, if you see a bus, you stop, get out of the way. I was like, but he's not riding in the front of Carl Stewart and interacting with 300 cars in the morning and then 300 in the afternoon, when he can ride across the back of the school property
And they go in that one.
and cross the neighbor and just cross and be on Tucker Creek.
I mean, there's kids just live across the street or a couple blocks away probably, and their parents take them to school.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sounds like Terry's got an agenda to me, but.
He does.
Yes.
Help kids ride
That's
safely.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
board nominations. We don't have enough people here for.
Well, we talked about it a little bit last time, right? I'd like to suggest, as I did, you weren't here last time, so if you got somebody you think is a good candidate, bring it to the board or email us if it's too late.
Yeah.
Let us
Well,
know, just to make sure that there's not any issues with that person that somebody might. I was on a board once where the nominee was known to harass one of the female board members and she was like, oh no, we don't want that person on the board.
Yeah.
So nominations can come in anytime at this point. I guess what I should have put was this is normally the meeting where we nominate officers. So we can't vote on those tonight. But yes, nominations for sure.
Okay.
I mean, they can get biased. People can just send them straight to the city and nominate themselves for this board, right?
I think that's normally how it's supposed to work, is they normally go to
They fill that
Felicia
form out
first.
and then they go to Felicia.
So you fill, the board member that nominates them gives them the form and fills out a little bit of information on
You
it.
can nominate yourself too.
Yeah, you can go on and do it.
You just do it.
That's what I did.
Oh, right. Well,
That's when
I think there's supposed to be a board. Was it a signature? There's supposed to be some info. Like I put my address on a nomination form.
Yeah.
So they could fill it out, but it helps, if somebody says, hey, are you interested? Here's this form. I already filled out the part I need.
Right.
It's a little bit better for,
No, you can facilitate it.
yeah.
I'm all
I
for
find
that.
that's a little
I'm
bit
all for
more-
that.
So anyway, Yeah, we should probably look
So what
at
about,
this.
I mean, we could talk about it still. What about officers? Mariah's not intending to become president or chair, right?
Correct. And David sounds like he's probably unable to be secretary next year, so we will need a secretary as well. And I know quite a few people are leaving, so I think our pool is shrinking.
Rapidly.
Yes. So this will definitely need to be a discussion at some point.
He's going to need to think about other people that might be able to join the board.
Yeah, we might need like a big campaign. Maybe go storm a cab meeting or something. And,
Well, CAB could help, publicize the need of board members.
mhm. Yeah, we can talk some more.
I could see if anybody could take my spot. I'm also, I think, going to resign because I'll probably have to miss I estimate about 5 meetings next year with all my trips.
All right. Well, we will. We'll carry on this conversation, and I'll reach out to board members individually and see if anybody has nominations for the extra positions. Peter, you want to give us an update on our meeting with Kurt?
Right, I thought we had a good meeting with Kurt. I wish he was here tonight. I don't understand where he is tonight. He can't make this meeting, so we have to think about a different time for these meetings or something. I don't know. We actually switched our CAB meetings to earlier in the afternoon at 4 o'clock, and a number of people like that better.
Yeah, I don't know about 4, but 6:30 can get a little dreary this time of year for sure. So
Anyway, so he initially sat down, wanted to talk a little bit about, do we always want to have bike lanes as opposed to side paths? You probably came in about that time. He started that with me just when you came in.
yeah, that was the first thing I heard.
Right. And we said, well, yeah, I mean, this board approved the side path that's going to be created going down College from Ferris all the way, I guess it's going to run to Salem or close to it. There was a grant for that. And this board approved it. I don't know if you were on it when we did that. It's been a long time now. It's been a few years. I don't think AJ was on it when we did that. And so we did it because we thought, well, there's not a lot of cutouts running down the right side. The north side of College is where it's going to be. Well, there could be more as time goes on. Because we don't want side paths, I think, if there's a whole lot of cutouts, a whole lot of driveways and intersections and stuff like that, because then people are constantly having to watch out for traffic coming in and out as they go down the side path. So that's what we told him, at least I did. I said, yes, they're appropriate in some places, but other places I don't think they are. I think the general gist of it is if he thinks he's got a spot where he'd like to build a side path, he should bring it to us for consideration. Yeah, I think Kurt's getting that. I wanted to say that tonight to him directly, that, if he's got things that they're working on when they're in a conceptual phase, they should come to us. Even as he builds this whole Conway Connect, each piece, I think we could review, as long as he has that in his head. We talked a lot about bike boulevards because AJ is particularly keen on those, and Kurt was interested in that. He had some reservations that I mentioned in my notes. Everybody's seen the notes, right? But I think we should try to give him some recommendations for where we think a bike boulevard might be tried once. And the more we talked about it, the more I decided that Front Street already was a bike boulevard. I may be wrong about that, at least downtown. I mean, when I ride through Front Street downtown,
Yeah, I'm just in the lane.
I'm just in the lane. Where almost am I supposed to be?
Flow of the traffic.
Yeah, and the traffic shouldn't be going that fast anyway, so I'm not really holding anybody up.
Right.
I'm going 15 miles an hour.
You got the additional traffic calming due to all the parked cars on the side.
Right.
So yes, the functionality is there for sure.
In some ways it is. So, thinking about that and then thinking about where else, and it took me back to Levi and I talking about how we wanted to demarcate downtown as a bike-friendly downtown. We never got that done. Sort of as an example, when you're coming into downtown on Front Street from Hendricks, at some point right there, you could sort of have some signage and some paint indicating you are now entering a bike-friendly area. But bikes will be using the full lane.
Yeah.
Where else will they be? Some of that kind of paint and some signage, and you could have it at strategic places around the downtown area. But we didn't really get into that. But came to mind as I was typing up these notes about bike boulevards. So that's one thing I think we should do. We should try to think about that, and I know AJ has some thoughts on that. I think Kurt agreed to put some more paint around the roundabouts on Donaghy. If you ride those once, if you're going north on it, Terry was with us when we did that,
Yeah.
had Shelley out front, and when we got to that first roundabout going north, she wasn't sure where the bike was supposed to go next because the paint just stopped. What you need is the paint to indicate you go around the corner and then you use the crosswalk, use the button if you have to, if there's traffic, and go across there. And then paint should pick up. Paint should go across the road there, I think, green paint. And then it should pick up on the other side. And then if you want to go around and cross Donaghy again, you should have your paint indicating that you can continue to do that all around the roundabout. I don't know why it just stops there and it leaves the cyclist thinking what to do. So I think he agreed to do that.
Yeah, he said he owed you some paint.
He said he owed me some paint. That was his line, right? So hopefully that's going to happen. He should buy some paint so he can do Markham too.
Just double the order.
Right. We had a long discussion about where we wanted to put armadillos because he wants a recommendation on that. And I think our decision was that we might try them on Harrison between Donaghy and Washington. So that's our recommendation to the board. And we have some people here, I guess, to approve that recommendation and send it back to Kurt that we try Harrison, which is the only downside, I think, is that I don't know when it's scheduled to be resurfaced because it's in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
You would want to put them down and then resurface it next year. So you have to remove them. I don't know.
So glad.
Well, I'm not sure how they're mounted. I think
It's the same as those flex posts. I think it's just a bolt.
yeah, I don't think it's too, it would be a good test to do it in old pavement instead of
Right. Pristine new road.
pristine new road and then
Right.
having, it not working and you pull them up and then there's holes in the brand new asphalt.
He didn't seem to resist that. I mean, that's what we kind of concluded that would probably likely be our recommendation. Try it on Harrison. And we talked more about the intersection of Harrison and Donaghy because we had told him that I think we already discussed, we wanted some way to have it easier for bicyclists and pedestrians to cross at that intersection.
Flashing beacon is what we
Something
talked
like
about.
that, yeah. And the problem was, we had a debate about whether there were sidewalks there, and we thought there were, but I've driven by there are no sidewalks
There's not, yeah.
down there. And that was why he went out there and looked
near
at
near that intersection.
Yeah, there's hardly any on Harrison at all. It's like Harrison needs some sidewalks. It's just got a couple of spotty places. I don't know what map we had pulled up, but there's no sidewalks
Interesting.
down there. I know. I thought we saw some on the map, but
We did, yeah, from the aerial views.
I think the only sidewalks are, I don't even know that there's one in front of the church. I think in front of the school,
just a couple of spots.
couple
A
spots.
road
Yeah,
down there
I don't
the
think
other
there's
day.
any in front of the houses.
So that was why Kurt stopped. But he said, I went out there and I found out there was no sidewalks. And usually these flashing beacons are put at sidewalk crossings. But I said, we wanted it both for pedestrians and for bicyclists. So bicyclists could easily hit it there as they come down. I guess it should be on the right side then, or the north side of Harrison. So I'm not sure where that ended up, other than that, in my mind, Harrison needs sidewalks.
Yeah. I think the way we ended at the meeting was that needs a little additional research to decide what's going to work best for a crossing.
Right. And then since I had thought about armadillos on Donaghy, we got to talking about that. Well, maybe we could put up flex posts like New Donaghy has, continue on up north past Prince, where Donaghy has bike lanes, but all we have is a stripe of paint. Is there enough space to put flexible posts like there are on Donaghy as you go toward Dave Ward, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's the same width street there as it is down there. I was driving it today and felt to me like there would be enough room to have a good traffic lane, enough space. You need about maybe, 10 inches or a foot for your flexible thing to sit there, and then still a decent bike lane. But Kurt needs to investigate whether that's possible. That would be pretty neat to have the whole of Donaghy with bike lanes with flexi posts, or as it is in front of UCA, cycle tracks, whatever you call them.
And to that point, I don't know how much you got left there. There was a whole conversation about lane cleaning as well.
Yeah, that's the next point.
Okay.
I put in the notes, we simply have to purchase that equipment. I don't know what every time I talk to him, he hands
Wait a
me
minute,
all
are these
of them.
notes or Peter's annotated?
What?
Are these like strictly notes or are these with
These are what I
Peter's
sent out.
annotated? I know.
I
know,
was the
I
secretary.
provided quotes on the equipment to UCA, but I copied the street department
Good.
and everybody on it.
I
So,
mean,
What's that look like?
I mean, the one machine that's like the cat's meow is like close to 80,000, and then there's a cheaper version for like 27 to 30.
there you go. That's nothing.
Seems like a pittance compared to, I'm sure, what we spend for other things. So, how
And
many?
he
Well,
never
I think the hesitation is because like that's the only area, so you're spending $80,000 to clean.
That's the only area.
This
Well,
is
I'm
for
just
the
saying,
future.
it's, you're spending $80,000 to clean a quarter mile of bike lane.
Well, the solution is to make more protected bike
Well,
lanes.
that's what I mean.
That's what
More
we said.
are coming. So
More are coming too, plus more cycle tracks
Yeah.
and paved paths that will often need cleaning too if there's a lot of trees around and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
what they did in Bentonville to get around it was they made it a dual direction cycle path.
Right.
So it's wide enough that the street sweeper drives down it just like it's basically the width of a lane.
Right.
I wouldn't complain about that.
Yeah.
We could try that somewhere.
But I showed them.
You know, experiment.
But I showed them too. It gets confusing at the intersection when it
Oh, I'll
stops.
bet it does.
Like
Right.
people are going catty corner across to get into the bike lane to go the proper direction, and
Well, they have their challenges, and certainly for new riders, it would be really challenging.
yeah.
You're riding into the traffic then in some fashion,
I hate
One
to
of the-
run, but I got to pick my son up at 7:15. So my apologies on having to leave early.
I mean,
That was it, really.
Yeah.
You got my notes, so I was just reading my notes that I sent you.
all right. Well, you want to stick around for adjournment? You want to make a motion for us?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Oh wait, we're not voting on anything. All right, we are adjourned.
Adjourned.
Thanks, Terry.
The problem, the two elementary schools have their bikes, and Finkenbinder was working on getting vests for the kids, which I'm
Nice.
fine with, but I think it's just so they have, I don't know, it's a elementary PE, so they're not gonna be riding on the street, but he wants them to have vests, so.
Just get used to being visible. Maybe that's a good idea.
It's a good idea, I sent him information on that. And the only other thing is the mountain bike trails at the tech park are all mapped and approved, and the trail builder's on site. So,
Awesome.
Is that Jeff?
yeah, Jeff Cannon.
Which park is that?
Tech Park, the Meadows, HP,
They're building stuff
didn't
out
know
there.
about
Yeah.
that?
No.
Terry's
Yeah.
project, yeah.
Yeah. 3 mile.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get more money, so we've got some money, but I'm trying to get more money to make it even better. So we're trying to have events there, so I've asked the foundation for some money.
And you know, when I'm trying to set up a meeting on this new facility for the bike sharing repair,
Yeah,
I'll get that going.
yeah, I saw that note. That's good.
Yep.
Whenever I had my quarterly, I told everybody in the meeting that we needed space, so that worked out. So,
Good, good. Thanks, Terry.
All right.
all right, see ya.
Yep. Hey, did you go by and look at that building?
I didn't. I totally forgot. I got so hungry.
We're still live.
Yeah.
I don't think we're live.